Semifinal football is finally here. The CSP Wolfpack are getting ready to take on the Tioga Tigers in the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Class D West Semifinal. I'm Francis Beck, joined by Tim Chiefo, getting ready again for game day coverage. We're going to do pregame, halftime, and postgame shows for this game, as well as the two semifinal games that our Section 6 teams are in. So, Tim, we know the rest of the crew is out. They're about to call this game. As we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but, Tim, as we battle through them, this matchup is certainly going to be one for the ages.
Absolutely. Well, first to you, Francis, and everyone that's watching, happy Thanksgiving. Hope everyone had a great, healthy time with their families, enjoy themselves. Quick note, congratulations to Pembroke. They won the eight-man regional, so they will be going to they go to six? Is that
no, that is the end of the line for them.
So they won a state championship. That's awesome.
So it's considered a regional state championship because they don't have enough sections participating to be a full-fledged one. But who knows, in the future that could be that could very well change.
Awesome. So like you said, today's game. Two teams that one team we're actually very familiar with CSP. They're out of Section 6. And another team that we're somewhat familiar with because we both were in Syracuse last year to watch them win the state championship. So the defending state champions, Tioga, number 1 in the state right now versus number 2. So I don't think you can ask for a better matchup. I know you're going to see a real unique stat in a second about the two teams that both these teams beat. But neither team has really had a close game in a while. And we say it every single week, Francis, who could deal with adversity, right? We saw it a few times last week. Some teams could deal with it. Some teams couldn't deal with it. But yeah, awesome matchup. We have state records all over the place. I mean, this is what it's all about for sure.
All right, so the matchup is CSP out of Section 6, Tioga out of Section 4. The Wolfpack, interestingly enough, defeated the Class C representative playing tomorrow, Salamanca, 37-6. That was in week, I think, 5. It was early in the season. And we also had in week 2, you had Tioga defeat Waverly, who was also playing in the Class C game tomorrow. So that really shows you the high level of these Class C teams. Yeah. They're not only beating Class C teams, they're beating some of the best Class C teams on this side of the state.
The best. I mean, the best in this area, right? So, it was Waverly that Tioga beat in overtime week 2. It was week 6 that CSP beat Salamanca. Salamanca's playing at a much higher level now than they were. They just knocked off 2 undefeated teams, so we'll talk more about them tomorrow. But just 2 teams that are just, built for this time of the year. CSP, very familiar with, getting this far and trying to move on. They, knocked off by Randolph last year. This is also Tioga's a team that beat Randolph last year, ended their run to Syracuse. But you can't talk about CSP without mentioning Bryce Hinsdale, right? I mean, this kid is having a career for the ages. He is number 1 as of last week in Section 6 for all-time receptions. And as you just told me before we started, number 5 in state history, 59 catches behind number 1. And we don't think those 4 players are playing, right?
No, they're all graduated.
So there's the Turkey Bowl catches don't count for them anymore, right? But yeah, so literally Hinsdale has a chance next year, a really good chance to be the number 1 person with number 1 receptions in New York State history. That's pretty impressive.
Tioga is the 2-time defending state Class D champion, won in 2022, 2021. Funny enough, the year before that was 2020, and the 2 years before that, CSP won their state title. So the last time neither of these teams, last time that there was a state championship, and it was neither of these teams that won it, that was back in 2017 with Cambridge out of Section 2. defeating Maple Grove, which was that time led by Kurt Fisher. And just to go show you how long ago that was, he hasn't been there for a while. He's now at Falconer.
And a little bit of a background, with Tioga, they're not the 4 wide receiver type of team. We actually think they run some form of an option a little bit, because if you look at the stats, the top running back, McCumber, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, is 920 yards, but the second with 523 is their quarterback, Bellis, who we remember from last year. They don't throw very often, but they're very effective when they throw. Only 67 attempts this year, but 1,200 yards with 22 touchdowns and only 1 interception. So they're very efficient when they do throw the ball. But you also have to remember, if you look at the games, the schedule, they're blowing out everybody. They don't have to throw, So it's
when you run the ball that well, and when you decide the 5 or 6 times you do or 10 times you do to throw, the defense probably isn't expecting it.
Absolutely, yeah. And we saw that a little bit last week with with even like Salamanca, who came out firing, and I think it kind of threw Medina off a little bit, or 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, but yeah, they have the ability to throw if they need to, and they do it effective. And then you go over to the CSP side, and last week, their quarterback, he put on a show, right? I think he was involved. What was it? It was he ran the first touchdown and then threw the next 3 or something like that. So just there are very, very good players all over the place. And I'm talking about the junior quarterback, Tate Cantony's crazy stats this year, all over the place. I think, like I said, I think he ran the first one in last week, and then threw the next 3 or something like that. And then he didn't. I don't think he played the second half.
No, I don't think he maybe a drive or that. But yeah, CSP put in their second team in that second half. They were already up, I think, 50 points at that point.
A lot. So they've been rolling. Both these teams have been rolling. I don't see that kind of game today. Either way, right? I just don't see. We think that often, though, and sometimes it happens. But it just doesn't seem like these two teams are. I don't think they have it in their DNA to get blown out. I just don't, But one of them, if not both, they're going to have to deal with some adversity. And how do you overcome it when you haven't really faced any in a long time for either team?
Well, you mentioned those Tioga players, McCumber, McBellis. I don't have it in front of me, but those were the same guys who were there last year when we saw them make it to the Dome. So they bring back a lot of their starters from that state championship winning team. And CSP, while they played last year, they didn't make it to the stadium. So when you get to this kind of point,
our stadium here, not Syracuse.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't make it to Highmark Stadium.
Right.
So when you get to this point, these guys are a little bit green in that department.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were weighing out favorites and underdogs as far as different areas, you have to go with experience is pretty high on the Tioga side. As you mentioned, if you look at their leaders in all the statistical areas, they're all seniors, which means they were all juniors last year and won the state championship. So, I wish we should have checked, and we'll check, for the halftime show. I'd like to see when the last time this team lost.
Yeah,
it has to be a while because they haven't lost this year. They won the state championship last year, so that means at least, 4 or 5 games, right, at least, right? So I will check for the halftime show when the last time, if someone wants to comment if they're watching, feel free. But I would like to check the last time that Tioga actually lost. It's been a while, that's for sure.
Well, all right, so you kind of mentioned these two teams. Neither of them are probably going to get blown out because they play so well.
Doesn't seem like it, at least.
But they do have very different styles. Tioga loves to run the ball. CSP leans more passing, but I mean, they do like to run it, but they're definitely a primarily passing team.
Yeah.
I think if you're Coach Harper and CSP, do you think about you're going to try to pass them out of the building, play to your strength, and try to get as many possessions as you can? Where, the running team might try to limit possessions? Are you going to try to take the opposite approach?
Well, I think with CSP, they are so well balanced that they have the ability to adapt and take what the defense is giving them, okay? And I think they're so good as far as, play calling, running the ball, throwing the ball. Now, how's the weather out there? Is it windy? That's going to come into play. It's late November in, New York. So we don't know how the weather is up there, if it's super windy, if that's going to come into play. But I think both teams, because if you look at how many points these teams score, it doesn't matter how they do it, they score a ton. I guarantee that ball control is number one on the bulletin board for both these teams. You want to keep either offense off the field as much as possible. I don't care if you run it, you throw it. You want those offenses off the field. So long, sustained drives that end in points is crucial for these teams because they both score. I'm looking at it, 40 points, 50 points, 40 points. They score constantly. So you have to put points on the board, and you have to get their offenses off the field. The only way to do it is long drives.
All right. One other note, we saw CSP, I think Cantonese threw 5 different receivers, so Tioga defense is going to have not only to stop the run, but you have a good multiple receivers that you have to cover. You can't just say Hinsdale's got the record, we're going to double team him, take him out of the game, because there's multiple other guys that Cantonese can go to.
Yeah, Francis, I think, to put it bluntly, to win this game, I think you have to play your best game. I really do. I think you are playing. Again, it's on paper, right? That's all we can do. But it very much seems like this is your hardest game of the season for both teams. I mean, both teams are loaded. They're both extremely good. And I don't mean to sound elementary, but it's really going to come down to the basics. Who's going to make the least amount of mistakes? You are one game away from trying to play for your absolute dream if you're a football player, state championship. There's going to be nerves. It's a... for CSP, it's a 2.5-hour bus ride of nervousness. You got to do little things, especially if you're CSP. I always talk about this. I want to get my quarterback confident right away. Okay, I want to get Cantonese and Hinsdale connection right away. Could be 5-yard slants, 2-yard outs. I don't care, but get his confidence going because you don't want nerves to come into play when it matters most.
All right, that will do it for us. Just looked it up, 31 degrees right now, 33% chance of rain, 12 miles per hour in winds up in Syracuse. So
not too bad.
Pretty good weather for this time
and it's in Syracuse, not in the dome, so it is outdoor.
Yeah, it is outdoor. It's Cicero North, Syracuse.
Next week won't matter.
Yes. But that will do it for us. You can go and watch the game right now on the NFHS Network. Jack Cruiser, Pat Cawley on the call. But for Tim Chifa, I'm Francis Beck. Join us at halftime for more on this game.
What does it mean when people say America is a land of opportunity?
It means the power to discover,
to redefine yourself,
to improve yourself,
to challenge yourself,
to realize there's more in you
than you ever knew
that you could do.
It means giving people an open field to explore what they do best.
With the best tools,
the best training,
the best technology in the world.
We bring out the best in the people who serve.
So you can be all you can be.
It's time for the Big West Herb Black Friday sales event. It's really big.
And they know big. $50 million big, set aside to buy your vehicle, but it'll go fast because whether you own or lease, we want your vehicle, and we'll even buy yours if you don't buy from us. Get your instant trade-in value at westherd.com and come in now. Great deals and $50 million ready to buy your vehicle. Hurry before it's gone.